three-way battle at the front in a league of their own over the Oschersleben in round 2. And it all came down to the final corner. That's the penultimate corner. Sessler diving up the insides of Freslin. But it all came down to this. On the run to the line, it was Lennox Famara who took victory to take the championship lead heading to the Sachsenring, the number 48. Sessler second and Frelsen down in P3. So that was last time then over at the Oschersleben, and this is today at the Sachsenring. If you were watching, well, about 10-15 minutes ago, it was raining, but it's now clear blue skies here in Germany. The rain has stopped. Air temperature 23, track temperature 32. It's been a weird day for weather. The morning started in very wet conditions, then it dried up through the afternoon, and then the Motor E race was red flagged. But thankfully it is sunny skies at the minute for round 4 of the 2023 Northern Talent Cup season. My name is Elliot York. Alongside me in the commentary booth today is my good mate Chris Jordan. We are going to bring you the action for race 1 here on Saturday afternoon ahead of race 2 on Sunday morning. Chris, what a weird day weather-wise it has been. Luckily the sun's out, but we're unsure how dry the track is.
Yeah, hopefully it has cleared up a little bit. It was only raining during the Moto E race. We won't give away too many spoilers for what happened there. But we should see the heavens open once again. But within a matter of minutes, we see blue skies, happy fans watching here for the Northern Talent Cup round 4. But yeah, once again, blue skies, we see the green rolling hills. It looks like we are set for a good day of racing here in the Northern Talent Cup.
As always, we get good racing in the Northern Talent Cup. You can see the riders piling through pit lane there. They have been out, but they'll come through pit lane to head on another sighting lap. Important that they do that, obviously, because of the changing of the conditions that we had. They had a wet qualifying practice yesterday evening, and through the afternoon was wet as well. They haven't been out today, so important for these guys to get out, warm themselves up and try and get a feel for the track. And we can see already around turns 1, 2 and down into 3, it's drying, but it's not quite fully dry. So give it another 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes till the race start, and we could see a proper dry line forming, because it does dry quick here, as we've seen all weekend at the Sachsenring. But these are tricky conditions to start with. Yeah,
lots of damp patches, as we can see here, just little patches everywhere. Riders need to be super cautious coming through these areas. But as you said, the Sachsenring is renowned for drying up pretty quickly, so hopefully by the time we have lights out in about 6.5 minutes time from now, we'll see a nice dry line for riders to compete on. It's all set to be another brilliant round here, and I'm very much looking forward to it as we look at the number 42 rolling around. And that is, excuse me, I've drawn a blank, but that's Julius Frelsen, who has been one of the main contenders. He's a little bit further back on the grid than he may have expected today. He's been one of the lead trio in the championship since P3 at the minute, but he starts from P11, so expect a charge from the 4th row for Frelsen.
What we having a look at here then? Oh, so the number 4 of Wanamaker has crashed on his sighting lap. You can see him pulling up to the grid there, and a little bit of commotion, a little bit of confusion, but this is what's happened then to the number 4 on the sighting lap. As we mentioned, tricky conditions out there. We saw around turns 5 and 6 and down in 7, it's still very wet. Spray kicking off these KTM 250 standard machines, and it looks like Wanamaker is going to have to pull back into pit lane and start from pit lane potentially. We'll keep you updated on that, but the riders then have completed 2 sighting laps and they're going to pull up to the grid. Not a long grid formation here, as we mentioned, 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes until they get their warm-up lap underway. Sorry, just over 5 minutes. So they'll come round. They've had a feel for conditions, Chris, but here is your pole sitter, again, for the 3rd time in 4 races, your title leader also, Lennox Famara.
Yeah, an absolute superstar in the making, this young Swiss rider. He is 3 wins out of 6 so far. All of them have come in race 2, coincidentally, while last time out in the Sachsenring, race 1 is the only time he hasn't been on the podium in 2023. He came P4 in that race, but he sits on pole for the 3rd time in 4 rounds and is definitely the one to watch today.
Certainly is. He was also a podium finisher here last year at the Sachsenring, a P3 there, his best result of the season, but he's, like a lot of the riders in 2023, really made a step forward in 2023, of course, as the riders grow into the class and gain more experience. They're obviously going to become quicker. He is the championship leader, but he is level on points with Rocco Sessler, who starts down in 5th place. We'll come to him in the meantime, but you can just see the number 48 there pulling up on the grids. Interested to see what tyres they start on. I think they're going to have to start, Chris, on the wet tyres. That's what they've done the 2 sighting laps on. It did look a little bit too wet to start on the dry tyres. Unless anyone fancies taking a gamble, some of the riders further back might potentially fancy a gamble because the conditions look like it's going to dry pretty quickly. So, yeah, gambles might be worth paying off for the guys a little bit further back, but I think to start with, the front runners at least will be on wets. Yeah,
and as we can see here, as a consequence of that sighting lap crash, Wanamaker will start from pit lane. He was initially meant to launch from the 5th row. He will launch now from pit lane. As you mentioned, yeah, I think it is very much worth taking that tyre risk. It seems to dry up pretty quick here as we look at the man starting from P2, the young Hungarian rider with 1 podium so far to his name in 2023. That's Martin Vince, and his podium came in the Netherlands. He's been very consistent this season, just the 1 podium so far, but there's been a flurry of P4s, P5s and top 6 and 7 finishes. Just hasn't had enough so far to stay with the top 3, Sessler, Frelsen and Fomara, but he's definitely got bags of potential. Will we see him come to the 4 today? It's definitely one to watch.
Yeah, 7th in last year's Northern Talent Cup was Vince, so starting from 2nd place on the grid, a good step up, and his best result in the Northern Talent Cup so far is a 3rd place, so he'll be hunting at least a 2nd place, and of course he'll be out to claim victory today. Now here's Jurien van Kruchten, races for the BB64 Academy. Of course, Moto2 rider Bo Benschneider is Dutch and he runs this Northern Talent Cup team, so a good initiative for Bo Benschneider to bring young Dutch riders through the ranks in the Northern Talent Cup, and hopefully they'll go on to great things and replicate what Bo's doing in the Moto2 class. But yeah, Van Kruchten, Chris, has been luckless this year, it has to be said. He was one of the standout performers in last year, the highest placed rider to come back into the 2023 class from 2022. But it's not been an ideal season so far, has it?
Yeah, you've taken the words right out of my mouth. As I look at my notes, the top word I have under Van Krukten's name is luckless. He's been hampered by injury and has been taken out several times through no fault of his own. So hopefully we'll see a turn in his fortunes today. Just we saw very quickly on screen there the number 7 Rocco Sessler, P2 in the championship, tied on points with Lennox Fomara, but just behind him by virtue of races won. He's got 2 to his name with 3 podiums to add to that. And here we see the younger Fomara brother starting from P6. He took the win in the opening race of the season. He'll be a rider who hopes it may stay a little bit wet because he dominated in race 1, round 1 at Assen, where it was very wet. He opened up a huge gap to take that victory. A very popular victor as well, with several riders happy to see him take the checkered flag first, offering plenty of congratulations afterwards.
Here we go then, the grid forms, the riders getting the last okays, the last good looks from their team members, and here is the starting grid then. Fomara on pole from Vince and Van Kruchten, rookie Nativi on P4 with Sessler and Fomara on row 2 with him. Row 3 is Kuhl, Ramersdorfer and Gunderman.
Yeah, we look further back. Philip Novotny, Julius Frelsen and Matteo Massilier is a strong row 4. We might see a podium charge from there. Krabacher, Schmidt and Wanamaker, as we know, is going to start from pit lane. So it's just Krabacher and Schmidt with Decker, Zelenik and Koenen further back.
Weitzel, Hanfager and Schuh are on row 7. Pontillo, Werner and Gervais are on row 8. Greven, Kaisvetter and Wanamaker are on row 9. And that is your grid for Northern Talent Cup. This, Chris, is going to be a very, very important warm-up. That's the first time we're going to see the whole circuit, and it's only the 3rd time these riders are going to get a feel for the conditions. It already looks like it's dried up from a few moments ago. I'm not sure what the tyre information is. We're not going to get any tyre information, but I get the feeling that plenty will have started on the wet tyres. It's going to be interesting to see. Definitely offline is going to be very, very sketchy indeed.
Yeah, we can already see the dry lines opening up here, particularly around here coming through out of the Omega curve. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see one or two riders make a late change here.
Down the hill we go then, through turn 6 and 7, down to the bottom of the hill. If you're not familiar with the Sachsenring, this is the lowest point on the circuit, and then the climb up through turns 8, 9, 10 begin before we get to that famous Ralph Waldman turn 11 right-hand curve. That's going to be tricky for the riders on the opening few laps. Another weather update, 23 degrees air temperature. Track temperature has dipped from previous, so it's going to be interesting. Like we say, these opening few laps, they're going to have to try and take it cautiously and carefully as we see them coming over turn 11 down the famous waterfall. Looks fairly dry, but as we saw earlier on, Chris, it was sort of in this section here and the final corner at the bottom of the hill where it was still pretty wet. So I think the right decision at the moment is wet tyres. But
just as you say that, we can see a massive dry line open up over the final couple of corners. I wouldn't want to be on that bike. I wouldn't want to be making any decisions. Is that a slick tyre perhaps I see? I'm not quite sure.
A wet tyre.
It's a wet, getting caught by the rotations. But I wouldn't want to be the one making the decision here because, perfectly honest, I wouldn't know which tyre to go for.
It looks like Famara is on wet tyres as well. Like I say, I think most of the riders are going to be on wet tyres. You can see they're pulling up to the grids. The number 12 of Vinci is also on wet tyres. The grid obviously is still quite damp. The number 27 of the TV, the rookie in 4th place, we didn't mention him before. As the riders then line up on the grid for the race start. 16 laps coming up here at the Sachsenring. The red flag clears, the lights will come on. And we are underway here for race 1 of Northern Talent Cup action at the Sachsenring, and it's Jurien van Kruchten from the outside of the front row. Looks like he's got a stellar start, the number 36. Watch out for him in the opening corner. Sessler, the number 7, getting late on the brakes. They pile into turn 1, but it's Famara who takes the whole shot round turn 1. Nice and easy does it. Round turns 1 and 2, they're all safely through there. That's good stuff. They're taking it pretty cautiously, but it is Famara who leads.
What a brilliant launch from the second row Rocker Sessler has had, and he shot up the inside. He's hot on the heels now of Lennox Famara, and he will want to get the hooks into the back of him. He doesn't want the young Swiss rider to open up a gap here. Sitting in 3rd place, we still have Van Kruchten, and we're looking, just having a quick look for Julius Frelsen. The young Dane is in 7th at the moment, with Anton the TV behind Gunderman, just outside the podium places.
Yeah, Frelsen on the number 42 machine. Watch out for him. It's a decent start up into 7th place from 11th. So watch out for him, the rider 3rd in the overall standings as they go through the bottom of the hill. Turns 8, this is turn 9. The left-hander, the kink, through turn 10. You can see there they're taking it really, really cautiously on this opening lap. Of course, if they go out too quickly, they might risk a crash, and they also don't want to burn up the wet tyres as we plunge down the waterfall then for the first time.
Yeah, it's all chop and change. I see some names dropping down the timesheets there. I think it's Krabacher has had an incident. He dropped about 6 or 7 places. He must have gone wide somewhere, but still seems to be in the running with that large group behind the front 6.
Vinci then trying to get up the inside of Sessler at the final corner. Not quite sure if he's going to make it click, but Famara then, or is it Van Kruchten? I think it's Famara just leading over the line. No, it's Van Kruchten who leads over the line, and the number 36 rider leads on to lap 2. Who's going to be last of the late breakers down into turn 1? It's about 6 abreast down there. Famara looks like he's going to chop the noses off the field, and he rounds turn 1 into the lead. Van Krukten's lost about 4 places there in the space of, well, half a straight and a corner. So close racing here on the opening couple of laps in Northern Talent Cup, but you can just see how tentative they are, Chris. Obviously still sussing out the conditions, and like I say, they don't want to go out too early, too quickly, because they're just going to burn up that rubber on the wet tyres, and it's just going to get drier and drier. Yeah,
brilliant move from the TV, the rookie, up the inside to get him into the top 3 places, but Gunderman has fought back to take that final podium place for the moment. But Famara putting on a show out front here with Sessler hot on his heels, but neither of them really breaking. They may not have led coming across the line, but it didn't take them long to get back out in front. And as we can see, Zelenek here up 12 places, 17th on the grid. He's now in P5. Brilliant progression from the young rider from Germany, rather.
Yeah, great stuff then. It's line astern as they come round turn 10, flick it right into turn 11 and down the waterfall we go. I love this shot as the riders plunge down the hill and into turn 12, sorry, a very, very popular passing manoeuvre. Look how tight it is in the midfield there in the lower ends of the top 10. Famara safely round turn 12 as they dive into the final corner then. For the third time at this race, Sessler just showing a wheel there to the number 25 at the final corner. Not so far this time around. Famara then still leads the way. We must say, Chris, that probably Famara, when the heavens opened just before this race, he'll have been licking his lips because he took pole by 1.3 seconds in the wet conditions. But it's not that wet anymore. It's just going to get drier and drier. And he's now down to third place. Slipstream playing an effect here in the Northern Talent Cup as it always does. But now we have a new leader. The number 25 of Gunderman leads the way.
Yeah, Sessler, not for the first time, opting for a different line to the rest of the pack. He's managing to pull out wide each time, potentially trying to break any potential slipstream in behind him, but it seems to be paying off as he slipped back into second place.
Zelenek there getting sat up by Famara, who was pretty aggressive then coming through turns 4 and 5. Famara doesn't want to let anyone get away. You can see Sessler, his main title rival, just up ahead of him, but with 13.5 laps to go, there's nothing to stress about at this moment in time. Let's keep an eye on where Frelson is, the number 42. Ooh, that's a huge moment
he's out
there
of
then.
The seat, but he's managed to pull it back. He has a little look behind him just to see what happened there, but he's done well to stay on his KTM machine.
For a huge moment then. That just shows how tricky these conditions are. Early stages of the Northern Talent Cup Race 1. Don't want to be pushing too much because that's exactly what can happen. Famara then back up into P2. It's now Sessler who leads, but not for long. Famara then 2 for the price of 1 down the hill and into turn 12. Famara then retakes the lead. He doesn't want anyone else to lead for long, does he? Famara striking straight back after losing a couple of positions on the last lap. Sorry. As we look at Wanamaker, the number 4, he's the one who had that moment down at turn 8. We're going to get a replay of it. No, we're not. We're just focusing on the number 4 for the time being. But we come down then into turn 1 once more. Sessler on the inside on the number 7 machine. Famara again on the outside, and again he loses 4 places there on the run into turn 1. This is chopping and changing all the time. We are going to get a replay. Here he is then, Wanamaker down into turn 8. Whoa.
Whoa. He's done very well to keep that under control and stay on the bike. What an opening to this race Wanamaker has had. A crash on the deciding lap, back into the point scoring positions, and then a massive, massive moment. But that keeps him still within the point scoring position, somehow still in the top 13.
I think he's been watching Marc Marquez this weekend, hasn't he? Wanamaker trying to replicate one of his heroes, I'm sure, but then Sessler is into the lead of the race and he's just got a little bit of a gap now. Goes on to track limits. You've got to be careful, don't do that too many times, as you will. Oh, Sessler's down at turn 8, just as we were bigging him up, leading the race. Sessler has gone down, the joint championship leader has gone down at turn 8. That's where we saw Wanamaker have that moment a lap ago. Good to see Sessler back up on his feet. It's not turn 10, it is turn 8 as they come round to start the climb up the hill. Good to see Sessler on his feet, as we say. We'll get a replay of this, I'm sure. Here we go then. I was just getting the aftermath, but it is a crucial mistake for Sessler. Just like he was starting to pull the pin, Chris, but that's what happens when you can push too early.
Yeah, that's an absolute disaster for his championship hopes. It now begs the question of Lennox Famara. He's not going to rejoin the race, but Lennox Famara now, if he picks up any points, will become the outright championship leader. But how much is he willing to risk in these damp conditions? Well, I'll tell you now, because he's into the slipstream there. He's pulling wide onto the left. Will he manage to make an overtake from P3 into the top positions? Let's see. He's actually going to lose a place here, I think, to Zelenek, and he's dropped out to 4th. It's only a matter of time before Famara has a decision to make. Will he hang on for crucial championship points, or will he risk it all in these damp conditions? It may be drying up, but there are still a lot of risk, as we have just seen with Sessler, as we saw moments before Wanamaker.
Just over 13 laps to go. Famara setting the fastest lap of the race at 42 28.7. It's slower than they were going in qualifying. It's these conditions where it's neither wet nor fully dry, and it's very, very tricky, of course, on the wet tyres on a dry track. They're not designed, of course, to be having these heat cycles on a dry track in the sun. There's Gunderman there, we see his progression, grid 9, current P1, so great progression from Gunderman, the number 25. But yeah, Famara will have seen his main title rival Zessler crash out, and he knows that Frelson isn't ahead of him so far in this race. So Famara, he's just got to sit tight and just see what the competitors are doing ahead of him and just try and keep a cool head.
Yeah, looking at the very front, this is some very impressive stuff from Gunderman. He's opened up a little bit of a gap. I'm sure it won't stay there for long as we see Famara try and move up the inside, but Gunderman's best positions, he's only picked up a couple points so far this season, so he's well on for his very best NTC result in 2023, but he's going to slip back down to second place, and Vince makes a move into P1.
We should mention Frelson, the number 42, isn't even in the points at this moment. You can see on the left-hand timing tower, he's down in P18, so this is working out perfectly for Famara in terms of the championship, and he again takes that wide sweeping line around turn 1. Loses a couple of positions again, but he enjoys just being in a space of his own, doesn't he, at turn 1? He doesn't have to take any risks at this moment in time, just the number 48. He's riding the race he needs to do. He's seen his main title rival crash out down at turn 8. That's the last thing that Famara wants to do. 11 and a bit laps to go. Shu now sets the fastest lap of the race. He's up into P4.
Yeah, that's a couple of tenths quicker than what we saw last lap, so maybe it's just drying up a little bit and things are going to heat up on track and off track. Famara sitting pretty in third place at the moment. Vince in second, Gunderman out front. As we look through the rest of the pack, Zell just having a moment there, but it looks like Famara is in control of that third place as we look at the number 16 making a move up the inside.
Should mention, you just saw on the graphic there, Shu has come from 21st on the grid to set the fastest lap of the race and be dicing it out in the top 5 and for the race lead. So this is a fantastic race from Shu, the number 21. Keep your eyes on him, but this is anyone's race as we round turn 12, just over 11 laps to go. The lead group, not sure how many there are, but there's down to the number 5 of Kuhl at the top 11 all locked together. 10 laps to go as we cross the line, and it's still the number 25 of Gunderman leading the way. Vince tucked right behind him, Famara in third, and the number 55 of Zelenek in fourth. But he pulls out the slipstream to Zelenek. Vince looks like he's going to have a go at the inside. It's the number 55 of Zelenek. So he goes from P4 to P1, Slipstream City. It's not a long straight here at the Sachsenring, only 700 metres, not the longest straight by a stretch, but still these 250 KTMs, once you get tucked up behind another rider, and you can use a slipstream to great effect. So we have a new race leader. It is Zelenek.
Yeah, Martin Vince just behind him. It's all chop and change at the moment out front. It seems nobody really can hang on to that lead. As we sing one rider's praises, another rider will make a move through. 10 laps to go, still plenty. Here we come. Is he going to try and move up? Is he going to make it stick? Not quite. That's well fought back from Zelenek.
Yeah, that was a brave attempt, even if he didn't try fully commit to it. Sort of glad he didn't, because you don't really see too many passes down into turn 7. A rapid left-hander at the bottom of the hill, and this is the climb back up. Didn't make a move there. Doesn't need to make a move with 9.5 laps to go. He's going to chop and change all the way to the flag. It's sort of a rate of attrition at this moment in time. The track, look at it, is pretty much, there's obviously a few damp patches, but the racing line is pretty much dry the whole way around the Sachsenring as we speak. So these wet weather tyres are going to start chewing up and losing grip very, very quickly as Vince just pulls out a nice little advantage. He's going to potentially break the slipstream going into turn 1, depending on the run he got out of turn 13 and up the hill. He does set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:41.3. So they're getting used to the conditions now, of course, with 9 laps to go. I think some of them are going to start searching for the wet patches just to try and cool those tyres down.
Yeah, it's top 11 I think we're looking at here, and I would not rule any of them out. There's a slight gap forming between, I think it is Famara and the TV, but they are not far behind. and it's actually Famara at the lead of that other group. But any of these riders in the top 11 can win it, but we're focused on the front four at the minute. Vinci leads Shu, Gunderman and Zelenek in 4th place.
None of the top 3 in the title race are in this lead group. Famara, the first of them in P5, but like we say, he doesn't have to do anything silly. He's seen his title rival slip down the road and he knows that Frelson isn't in the podium fight down in 14th. He's made progress as the number 42, but not a lot of points on offer today as things stand. So the number 48 Famara just doing what he needs to do. We have another new race leader. It looks like the number 25 is Gunderman retaking the lead. No, it's the number 16 of Shu. So Shu coming from 21st on the grid. He set the fastest lap of the race a few laps ago, and now he is leading the way, the number 16. What a cracking ride this is from Shu as he goes down into turn 12. Easily done, and as soon as we were saying there's a little bit of a gap forming at the front, Chris, it's all bunched up again.
Yeah, no surprises there. It's typical as we look at Van Krugten for the 3rd or 4th time I've seen him try and make that move from back of that pack up the inside, coming around the final corner, but it hasn't quite paid off. It should be mentioned that with the exception of maybe Vinci and Famara, the rest of these leaders have come from deeper on the grid, particularly Keanu Shu and Zelenek. Zelenek started 17th and Shu in 21st. And Maxime Schmid just sets the fastest lap of the race. So 140.5, but he is back in 12th place as we speak.
Top 11 then, all in your picture there, covered by 1.7 seconds over the line. What a race we've got in our hands here, halfway through race 1 of 2 here at the Sachsenring. We're getting quicker and quicker, of course. Shu still leading the way. No, he's not. It's Zelenak who's now leading the way, chopping and changing all the time. As you see there, Schmidt setting that fastest lap of the race.
He's a little bit further back as we saw, but if he keeps taking 0.7 of a second out of the lead group as they chop and change once again, this will bring the other group back into contention. And here we go again, 3 abreast, pushing through there, but it's Keanu Shu who takes the lead once again, coming from 21st on the grid to lead this race with 8 laps to go, 8 and a little bit laps to go as we come down to Waterfall. A huge plunge down into turn 12. Who's going to lead here? Look at the number 48 of Famara. Is he going to make it stick? He's got into P2, but he won't lead coming out of the corner. That honour belongs to Keanu Shu. Yeah, indeed, it's Zelenek.
Yeah, the riders are just getting a little bit more confident now, aren't they? We're just focused in on Jurien Van Krugten there, just keeping out of trouble. That's what he needs to do. He needs to get some points on the board, as Van Krugten came in as one of the title favourites this year after a great season last year, but he sits down in 11th place after having some luckless rides, including here at the Sachsenring when we was caught up in this turn 1 incident with Matteo Massili last time we were here a few weeks ago. Let's just have a look at the gap then. Schmitz has closed in with Massili. It's now 5.2. It was well over 6 seconds last time around. You can see there Matteo Massili on the 46 machine, the fastest lap of the race, a 1:40.2. Still a tenth off what Famara set in qualifying, but they're getting quicker and quicker. So tyre wear, not too much of an issue for the time being, especially for the chasers, of course. But it's going to be interesting to see if they can catch up. They've not got long to do it. 7 laps to go. The gap was 5.2 seconds over the line, so it's going to be close to see if they can get themselves tagged onto this lead group, which is just starting to stretch a little bit now, but we said that a couple of laps ago, didn't we?
Yeah, it's out to over 5/10 of a second. Gunderman seems to be putting a little bit of pace into it now and trying to control this race. But Keanu Shu has lost 5/10 of a second coming over the line there. It'll be interesting to see how much he can pull it back in. It's down to about 3/10 and a half. But, and yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to stay out that long as they all bunch up once again.
Vinci doing well then in this league group. He's 4th in the championship. Here's the number 12 machine, just looking up the inside.
He's trying to move up the inside. Will he make it stick? Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. He's running a little wide perhaps, but will he come across the line first? It looks like he's
no, not quite.
Just dropped off. Gunderman still leads.
What's the chasers then setting over the line? A 1:39.7 for Masili and Schmidt, so they are chasing hard, but the leaders have responded. Another sort of half a second was taken out of the leaders on that lap. No, sorry, it was a little bit more than that. 3.9 seconds. So at this rate of knots, the two chasers, Masili and Schmidt, are going to catch this lead group, and the lead group are going to start squabbling as well as we have 5.5 laps. So you just saw the duo there in the background of the picture coming through the Amiga corner, turn 3. So yeah, this is going to be a fascinating watch, because Masili and Schmidt have serious pace as we enter the latter stages of this race. It's going to be interesting to see if they can catch, and then see what they can do, of course, because catching is one thing, passing is another. Yeah,
and a reminder as well, pretty much all of these riders are out on wet tyres, but as you can see, the track has very much dried up. The pace is heating up, and that's why Masili and Schmidt back behind are taking such large chunks of time out of the front 11 as they squabble away. But it's still Gunderman out front, followed by Zelenek, the number 16 of Keanu Shu in third place. All riders starting further back on the grid, and we see Lennox from Mara try one up on the outside. He hangs it up on the outside to get himself into the top 4. Can he maintain his position there? Novotny has something to say about that. Will he come out of it 4th? No, it's Novotny. But Lennox from Mara, a reminder, his main title rival Rocco Sessler has crashed out of this race, while his other competitors, Julius Frelsen namely, is down in P15. It's going to be a big win if he can come home well inside the points.
Cue the Jaws music. Schmidt and Masili are catching them at a rate of knots. It's now down to 2.4 seconds. You see them there in the back of your picture. 2 more fastest laps of the race. 1:38.9 for the duo. No one else was in the 1:39s, let alone the 1:38s. So watch out for Masili on the number 46 mean and Schmidt on the number 95. They're visibly closer in the background, and with 4 and a bit laps to go, it looks like they are going to catch this lead group. Famara just needs to box clever here, I think, Chris. Obviously, he is the title leader. He's the only sort of championship contender in this league group as things stand. We get a replay down into turn 1. The heavy braking zone down into turn 1. Nice little slow-mo there of the Northern Talent Cup riders hard on the anchors on their KTM 250 machines down into what is a tricky turn 1 here. We've seen plenty of crashes across the classes here at the Sachsenring, as we always do. It's a nice little slow-mo of the riders rounding turn 1 nice and safely on the wet tyres on a very dry track now. Still leading, Zelenak, the number 55, 25 of Gunderman, just showing the wheel there at the inside and down the waterfall, but not this time around. I'm just looking for Famara. He's up into P3, so Famara's doing well here just to keep himself out of trouble. That's all he needs to do to extend his championship lead ahead of race 2 tomorrow. But there's a long way to go. 4 laps is a long time in the Northern Talent Cup and around the Sachsenring.
Yeah, and into the slipstream they go. Famara looks like he might be able to take into the lead here, but the number 25, is he going to come through? No, it's a fight back. So Famara, to touch on that point again as they battle through here, Famara has dropped down to 4th, but it's not the end of the world for him. This is a great opportunity for him to show his racecraft and his knowledge, to just settle down for some very, very easy points to open up. And Masili, as we can see, 1.2 seconds out. It looks like
the gap's actually nothing now.
If they are at that pace and can maintain that pace, they could get right into the top 5, top 6 battle here, even potentially a podium, as we see the 2 of them tag on to the very back of this group. With 4 laps to go, Maxime Schmidt dives up the inside.
You saw from the replay, sorry, not the replay, the rear shot down through turn 2, they were visibly quicker. Masili and Schmidt were so much quicker than the riders in the lead group. They were very tentative in the lead group, but Masili and Schmidt looked like they were almost on dry tyres, not wet tyres, on a dry track. So Masili and Schmidt then really coming into this lead group, and they've actually caught them. So let's see what progress they can make as we plunge down into turn 12. Only a few times we're going to do that now. Sort of dress rehearsals now starting to take place down into turn 12. It's going to all come down to turn 12 and turn 13, you think, on the last lap, as Vinci then looks like he wants to try and pull the trigger here, pull the pin and try and pull away. Vinci on the number 12 machine. Let's see what lap time he sets. He's down into the 139s, a 139.6, just getting Masili and Schmidt over the line. Schmidt sets a 139.0, Masili a 139.1. So they're a little bit slow on that lap, but still quicker than every single rider ahead of them by half a second. So now we have a lead group of 12.
Yeah, 11 Famara seems to be the first rider to fall to the two hard-charging riders, Masili and Schmidt in the background. Or perhaps it's actually a transponder issue, but they are coming hard. The previous lap, Masili set a rapid 138.7, nearly 4 seconds quicker than what they were doing at the beginning of this race. With 3 laps to go, they are very much in this. Zelenak leads out front at the moment with Vinci about to make a move up the inside. Will he make it stick? He absolutely will, while Gunderman is hot on their heels, with Novotny also charging late for a podium place.
It's going to get busy now, Chris. Crunch time here, 2.5 laps to go. The riders obviously know how many laps are left and they know how big the group is, so they're going to have to be squabbling away to try and get themselves in the best position possible for the final couple of laps. If you start getting beaten up now, it ruins your chances of trying to win the race or stand on the podium. Famara is still there in 5th place. He's keeping himself out of trouble, keeping himself in the top places so he can fight for victory. Close there down the hill from Famara. He's now up into 2nd place. Vinci leads, but this is going to start getting really busy. 2 laps to go when we cross the line. Just checking up on Masili. You can see there the bright yellow number 46 diving up the inside of Levin Famara, the younger brother of Lennox Famara. As we cross the line then, 2 laps to go. Famara, Lennox Famara that is, the number 48, the championship leader, then takes the lead on the penultimate lap down into turn 1. How long is he going to hold it for? Hard on the anchors down into turn 1. So Famara then, for the first time in a number of laps,
ooh, big moment
takes the
there.
lead.
Big moment for Novotny coming through there in turn 1. He had a big wobble, holds it upright and manages to fight back to get into 4th place. This is all going to bunch up now. We've 13 riders in contention. We're looking at the lead ones, but any of these guys could take it. As it all going to chop and change, it'll play into the hands of Levin Famara, Masia, Conan Schmidt or Tom Kuhl, who are just at the back of this lead group with two laps to go. And Vinci sticks it up the inside once again on the left-hander, but Lennox Famara, is he going to fight back immediately? Oof. He's not going to make it, but let's keep an eye out for the number 27 of the rookie, Anton Nativi, who is eyeing up a move on the inside.
Yeah, down the hill then, Vinci loves that move down into turn 7, doesn't he? It's not a popular passing manoeuvre by any means, but he seems to make it work, hugging that inside line. Are we going to get a replay? We're going to get a replay of turn 1. Contact there between Nativi, the rookie, and Novotny. Luckily, both riders stay on down turn 1, and as we say, it's going to get very busy when we go down the hill then to turn 12. We pick up the riders for the penultimate time through turn 12. This will be turn 13. It's Famara leading, but is he going to be leading through the final corner? Because Nativi, the Frenchman, the rookie sensation, has a look, but he doesn't do it that time. Chris, it's time for the last lap, and it's Lennox Famara who leads the way.
Yeah, coming into the first corner. Will he want to lead coming out of that final corner, Lennox Famara? Only if he can break that slipstream. But here they come into turn 1, 4 abreast, 5 abreast. Will there be a move coming up the inside? He's just got too much advantage out front as they swing in towards a series of left-handers now at the Omega.
Turn 1 done, turn 2 done, down into turn 3. This is a popular passing manoeuvre down into the Omega corner. Nothing really happening there. You can see there Masili on the number 46. I say nothing happening there. Contact between Masili. I didn't quite make out who it was with. Masili obviously trying to build his way up to try and get into podium contention. We're through turns 4 and 5. This is turn 6. Watch out for Vinci at turn 7. Where is the number 12 in 2nd place? Famara's just holding that advantage through turn 7. No way through this time for Vinci.
Yeah, we've seen Vinci make that move several times already in recent laps, but Famara has opened up a bit of a gap as Novotny dives up the inside to get himself into P2 for the Czech rider. Nativi is hanging on to 3rd place. No, not quite. I think he has actually dropped out at the expense of Vinci as Novotny gets a 2 for 1.
As Famara got this done and dusted, he's got a little bit of a gap going down the waterfall for the final time. Slipstream comes into play here, but the number 48 has got a decent gap. It's getting close between the chasing pack. Famara leads into the penultimate corner. Vinci in second place. Nativi into third place, the French rookie. It's all going to come down to the final corner. Is Vinci going to make a move up the inside of Famara? Yes, he is. Late on the brakes. The number 12 up the inside of Lennox Famara. Now it's all about getting the power down, up the hill and the run to the line. It's only a short run to the line. Who's going to make it work? It is Vinci who wins from Lennox Famara, and Nativi gets himself on the podium. What a finish to that race. Oh, it all came down to the final two corners as we imagined, but it was the number 12 of Vinci who stuck his wheel up the inside of Lennox Famara at the final corner and made it work.
Yeah, the Hungarian rider held on. Thankfully for him, it was a short run to the line, because if it was any longer, I think Famara was going to make that move as the two embrace and congratulate each other. Two big winners today, Martin Vinci and Lennox Famara. Then it increases his championship lead out to 20 points, and what a result for Anton Nativi. He takes his first ever podium in the Northern Talent Cup for the young French rookie.
Yeah, class from the number 27, class from all of the podium finishers. What a race we have seen there in the Northern Talent Cup. Wet tyres on a drying track. You can see how tentative they were in the opening exchanges, but as soon as they got used to the conditions, then it started getting busy, and it was fantastic racing across the top positions. Just seeing where Masili finished. He finished down in 13th, so all that hard work didn't come to much, unfortunately, for Matteo Masili. I'm just looking at where Frelson finished, P14 for Frelson, so he loses ground in the championship header race 2 tomorrow. So a good day for that rider there, the number 48 Lennox Famara. He will extend his championship lead with a second place finish. That's now, what is it, 6 podiums out of 7 in 2023.
Yeah, his wait for victory in the first race of this year's campaign still goes on, but he'll be more than delighted with P2 today. And well, he's got all the race 2 so far, 3 out of 3 in all race 2 events so far 2023. So this could turn into a very, very good weekend for Lennox Famara if he maintains that run tomorrow. A word on Martin Vinci, he was always at the forefront of that fight. He's been excellent all season, and talking to the people who are watching there in the paddock week in, week out, that result has been coming. He already has a podium to his name from race 2 in Assen, but that victory has been coming. He's been showing great signs of consistency, as it has for this young man, Anton Nativi's first podium in the NTC. He's come close before. He's had a P4 before back in race 2 of Assen, and several top 7 finishes. Remarkable campaign really for a rookie in this class as he rolls into Parc Fermé.
A French star in the making then is Nativi. Watch out for him for the rest of the year. Of course, they don't have to wait long until they're back on track. Tomorrow morning, 8:50 is the start time. We'll be live on air at 8:40, so do join us for that. A nice little warm-up for the day ahead, of course. Grand Prix Sunday here at the German Grand Prix at the Sachsenring. And if that was anything to go by, then tomorrow morning there's going to be another barnstormer. But Lennox Famara, handshakes all round for the top 3, of course. Vinci there giving his team a hug, his first win in the Northern Talent Cup. He was here last year and it was a best of 7th place, so he's taken a great step up as Vinci this year. And like I say, Chris, that 3rd place at Assen was his equal best throughout his career in the Northern Talent Cup, but he has now finally got a victory under his belt. Yeah,
an absolutely super ride to the line. We saw him try that move several times coming around turn 7, and it worked to get him into the podium places. Didn't quite make it stick on the last lap against Famara, but he did fight his way past the young Swiss rider to take that victory. So it's a very, very happy Parc Fermé, no doubt.
Here's a replay then of what I think is the final lap of the race. The plunge down the waterfall. You can see there Lennox Famara in the lead on the number 48, defending well. Getting a little bit tight there in the fight for the podium, but this is where the move was made. The race-winning move was made. A great one out of turn 12 for the number 12 Vinci stuck his KTM up the inside, a nice clean move, hits the apex and then gets his head down on the gas early doors up the hill. Like you say, Chris, if the finish line was a little bit longer, maybe 10, 15 metres further away, it might not have been.
Hundredths of a second in that. That is so tight.
Yeah, that's the good thing about the Sachsenring. If you are leading out the final corner, unless your run out of the final corner is a bit of a disaster, you are probably going to take victory. And of course, the riders do know that. So Vinci timing his move to perfection. Thought he was going to come down at turn 7. We mentioned, didn't we, Chris, how good he was through turn 7, but Famara just held that little bit of advantage on the final lap. Vinci made it stick at the final corner, turn 13. How many times have we seen that move across all classes here at the Sachsenring? The plunge down the waterfall through turn 11 into turn 12 and turn 13 make for a thrilling final sector, the perfect end to a lap. Here's confirmation then of results. Vinci, the winner, the number 12. Famara just close behind in second place, extends his title lead. The TV in third, also less than a tenth off the win. How close do you like it? Novotny in fourth, Levin Famara, the younger brother of Lennox, in fifth. Zelenek, leader of the race, in parts was sixth, with Gunderman. Shu coming up from 21st on the grid, finishing 8th. Conan closed out the top 10. Van Kruchten probably a little bit disappointed with P11. Kuhl, Masili, Frelson and Krabacher complete your points. Frelson started the day third in the championship. Masili had great late race pace, but unfortunately wasn't able to make it stick. 1.8 seconds off the win and finishing in P13. That's a bitter pill to swallow, but that's just how close it is in the Northern Talent Cup. There's your other finishers inside the top 20, Portillo, Deckers, and Ramersdorfer, as we get set to go again tomorrow in hopefully dry conditions or fully wet, because that would have been tricky for the riders. And there you see Rocco Sessler, a crasher down at turn 8 in the early exchanges whilst leading, the joint championship leader coming into this race, but he isn't anymore. He's going to be 20 points down on Lennox Famara heading into race 2 tomorrow. Time for the podium then here at the German GP. Hear some fans, you can see some fans in the grandstands as well. A packed out day here on Saturdays, it always is in Germany. We're expecting well over 100,000 fans to pack into tomorrow. Hopefully they come nice and early to see Northern Talent Cup race 2. Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely perfect way to start race day, Grand Prix Sunday. And as we look at the podium, 3 very unique flags we're looking at in terms of podium: Hungarian, Swiss and French. Of course, plenty of French success in recent years, but hopefully for Hungary and Switzerland we'll see more success to come.
Yeah, great to see some different nationalities. It's the whole point of the Northern Talent Cup, of course. Central and Northern European countries competing in the Northern Talent Cup, giving them a springboard into the likes of the Red Bull Rookies and Junior World Championship and so on and so forth, getting them onto the road to MotoGP ladder. TV then claims his first Northern Talent Cup podium trophy. Hope he's made room in his suitcase for that. I'm sure he has.
Famara running out of space at this point.
Getting used to it now, isn't he, Famara? That's his first second place trophy, though, of the year. He's finished first, third and fourth, and now he's completed the set with a P2. But Vinci, that's his first win and first winner's trophy, of course, for the Hungarian, as we get set for the national anthem.
Noch einmal Applaus für unser Podium.
The Hungarian national anthem rings around the Sachsenring. What a moment for Martin Vinci and, of course, his family, friends and team as well. A proud moment standing on the top step of a Grand Prix podium for the first time. Hopefully many more to come.
Yeah, an absolute moment to savour for these three riders as they pose for the post-race photo. I have to say, Lennox Famara, big win for him today.
Here's highlights then of what we've just seen. Iffy conditions, to say the least, at the start of the race. The infield starting on wet tyres, the correct choice. But as we'll see, the track quickly dried out. Lennox Famara starting from pole around the outside, got the whole shot and led around the first couple of laps. But it was all going to change, chopping and changing throughout the race. Jeroen van Kruchten there in second in the early exchanges. The number 25 of Gunderman taking the lead. He was present throughout the race. Famara there sliding to third. He likes that wide line around the outside at turn 1. A huge moment down at turn 8 for Wanamaker. And this happens a lap later down at the same corner. Race leader just off our screens as we focus in on the battle for second. Rocco Sessler, second in the championship, level on points with Famara heading into this one. Crashed out of the race lead down at turn 8. Luckily, he was all okay and he'll be out for race 2 revenge tomorrow. But the race continued, of course, at the front, and it was a freight train of 11 riders that formed at the front four. Seeley and Schmidt started to close in with superior late race pace. This is the final corner. Famara was leading the way, but Martin Vinci slammed it up the inside. The run to the line, up the hill, the short run up to the hill. Vinci knew just before he crossed the line he was going to take his debut win in the Northern Talent Cup. A phenomenal race. Vinci wins from Famara and the TV. That's it from race 1 of Northern Talent Cup at the Sachsenring. Do join us tomorrow morning, 8:50 for race 2.